The Magical Forest of Dreams. Chapter 1. The Arrival. As she walked through the dense forest, Ava couldn't believe her eyes. The trees were so tall they seemed to touch the sky, and the flowers were so colorful and vibrant that they looked like they had been painted. She had heard about the Magical Forest of Dreams before, but she never imagined it could be so beautiful. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a little girl named Ava. She dreamed of adventures and magic galore, and decided to explore, far from her door. She packed her bags and set out on her way, excited for what she'd see that day. She walked and walked until she reached a forest that seemed to be bewitched. The trees were tall and the leaves were green, a beautiful sight she had never seen. Ava knew she had arrived at last, to the magical forest of dreams, so vast. She looked around and saw a fairy, a tiny creature that was oh so merry. "Welcome to the forest, little one. Are you here to have some fun?" Ava nodded and smiled wide. She felt like she was on a wild ride. The fairy took her by the hand and led her to a wondrous land. The journey had only just begun in the magical forest of dreams. So much fun. Ava couldn't wait to explore, play, and discover what lay ahead each day. Chapter 2. The First Encounter. Ava had been walking for hours, and she was starting to feel tired. Just as she was about to rest, she heard a rustling in the bushes. She cautiously approached the sound and saw a group of fairies playing. They were so tiny and delicate, and their wings glistened in the sunlight. Ava was amazed. Ava and the fairy walked together, talking about the forest's weather. Suddenly, they heard a rustle and saw some bushes start to bustle. Out popped a group of fairies, bright, their wings aglow in the sunlight. They flew around and danced with glee, and Ava watched them in amazement. You see, the fairies beckoned her to come and play, and Ava happily joined in the fray. They flew around and played games all day in the magical forest of dreams, where the fairies stay. Ava felt like she had found her tribe, a place where she could truly thrive. With the fairies by her side, she knew she had nothing to hide. As the day came to a close, Ava said goodbye to her new friends, and promised to return another day to the magical forest of dreams, where she could always play. Chapter 3. The Talking Tree. Ava continued to explore the forest and came across a tree that had a face carved into it. She couldn't believe her eyes when the tree spoke to her. The tree told her that it was a magical tree and that it had been waiting for someone to come along and talk to it. Ava continued on her journey through the forest, so wild and ferny. She stumbled upon a tree so grand with a face carved into the bark, oh so grand. "Hello there," said the talking tree. "I'm the guardian of the forest, can't you see?" Ava was amazed and quite surprised to find a tree that could talk and advise. The tree told her tales of the forest's past, of magic, wonder, and spells that last. It showed her secrets hidden in its bark and led her to the forest's heart. Ava felt privileged to have met this magical tree, a forest's vet. And as she said her goodbyes and departed, she knew she would always hold the tree dear-hearted. Chapter 4. The Enchanted Lake. As Ava walked further into the forest, she stumbled upon a beautiful lake. The water was crystal clear, and she could see fish swimming beneath the surface. Suddenly, a mermaid appeared out of nowhere and greeted her. As Ava continued on her quest, she came across a lake, so blessed. The water was crystal clear and bright, and the sun shone down with all its might. Suddenly, a mermaid appeared from the lake. She was revered. She sang a song that filled the air, and Ava was entranced, without a care. The mermaid invited her to swim, and Ava felt the water wrap her in. She felt weightless, free and alive, and swam with the mermaid, so jive. They explored the lake and its depths, and Ava saw fishes of all types and specks. She had never felt so alive in this enchanted lake, so full of thrive. As the sun began to set, the mermaid said her goodbyes. No regret. Ava knew she would always remember this enchanted lake, so full of splendor. Chapter 5. The Secret Garden. Ava found a hidden garden tucked away behind a waterfall. She was mesmerized by the beauty of the flowers and plants that grew there. She spent hours exploring the garden and was amazed by the different colors and scents. As Ava walked deeper into the woods, she found a garden, so serene and good. The flowers were blooming, in shades so bright, and the trees were full of life, a true delight. Ava stepped inside the garden's gate and found herself in a mystical state. The fragrance of the flowers, so sweet, made her feel like she was in a dreamy retreat. As she walked, she saw a fairy tending to the flowers, not at all weary. The fairy showed her around the garden, and Ava felt like she was pardoned from all the worries in her mind in this garden, so gentle and kind. They talked about the flowers and their power, and how they bloomed like a lovely shower. Ava felt like she had found a place full of beauty and grace, and as she left the secret garden, she knew her heart would never harden. Chapter 6. The Unicorn Meadow. Ava came across a meadow filled with unicorns grazing. They were so graceful and majestic, and she felt lucky to witness such a sight. As Ava continued on her way, she came upon a meadow, so gay. The grass was green and flowers bloomed, and in the distance, a unicorn loomed. The unicorn was pure white and bright. Its mane and tail were a rainbow of light. Ava approached it, without any fear, and the unicorn smiled, so sincere. The unicorn spoke, with a gentle voice, and Ava felt like she had found a choice to stay in this meadow, so pure and free, and be with the unicorn. Just you see. They played together, all day long singing songs and dancing to a song. Ava felt like she had found a friend, a magical companion, till the very end. As the sun set, the unicorn said goodbye, and Ava waved, without a sigh. She knew she would never forget this unicorn meadow, so full of joy and respect. Chapter 7. The Fireflies Dance. As the sun began to set, Ava noticed that the forest was filled with fireflies. They danced and twinkled around her, creating a magical atmosphere. As night fell upon the forest's floor, Ava saw a sight she had never seen before. The trees were aglow with fireflies so bright, and their dance filled the forest with a magical light. The fireflies swirled and whirled around, making patterns on the forest ground. Ava watched in awe as they put on a show, and the fireflies danced with an ethereal glow. As the fireflies danced, they sang a song, and Ava felt like she belonged in this forest, so full of wonder and delight. With the fireflies, she danced into the night. They danced around a giant tree, and Ava felt like she was free from worries, free from care in this magical forest, so rare. As the night drew to a close, Ava knew she had to go, but the fireflies' dance stayed in her heart, and she knew she would never be apart. Chapter 8. The Talking Animals. Ava met a group of animals that could talk. They were friendly and welcoming and told her stories about their adventures in the forest. As Ava walked through the forest, she heard a sound. It was the animals, talking all around. She stopped to listen to what they had to say and was surprised to hear them speak, in a way. The rabbits, squirrels, and birds too all chattered and chatted, without a clue that Ava was listening, with such surprise to their conversations, so wise. They talked about the forest, and its magic, and how they all lived, without any tragic. They shared their stories, with such ease, and Ava listened, without any tease. Ava felt like she had entered a new world where the animals spoke, and were so bold. And as she continued on her way, she knew she had learned something new, every day, that in this forest, anything was possible, even talking animals, so amiable, and Ava knew she would always cherish this memory, of the talking animals, without any perish. Chapter 9. The Fairy Queen. Ava finally met the Fairy Queen, who ruled over the magical forest of dreams. The Fairy Queen welcomed her and showed her around the castle. As Ava walked further, she saw a glow and approached it, without any woe. She saw a fairy, so beautiful and bright, with wings so delicate, and a dress of light. The fairy introduced herself as the queen, and Ava couldn't believe what she had seen. I, Fairy Queen, in all her grace, in this magical forest, such a lovely place. The queen took Ava to her castle, in the sky, and Ava felt like she was going to fly up and up. They went to the castle so grand, and Ava felt like she was in a wonderland. The castle was made of crystal and gold, and the queen's servants were kind and bold. They served them tea and cakes so sweet, and Ava felt like she was in a royal treat. The queen shared her wisdom with such ease, and Ava listened with such peace. She learned about the magic in the forest and how it kept the creatures so blessed. As the day drew to a close, the queen bid Ava farewell with a rose. Ava felt grateful for this experience so grand in the fairy queen's castle, in the sky and the land. Chapter 10. The Return Home. As the sun began to rise, Ava knew it was time to return home. She was sad to leave the magical forest behind, but knew she would always cherish the memories of her adventure. As Ava left the forest and returned to town, she felt a sense of peace that she had found in the magical forest of her dreams, where everything was possible, or so it seems. She knew she had to share her magical journey with her friends and family, who were so worthy of knowing the wonders of this enchanted place, and how it had filled her heart with such grace. So she told them of the talking animals, and the fairy queen of the fireflies' dance, and the unicorn meadow so serene, and they listened with wonder and awe as Ava shared her journey, without any flaw. From that day on, Ava knew she had changed, and the forest of her dreams had rearranged her perspective on life, and what it could be, filled with magic and wonder, just like the forest, you see. And she knew that she would always cherish the memories of the forest, without any perish, for it had taught her to believe in the impossible and to never lose that childlike sparkle so sensible.